Just wanted to talk to you about the Magic win in the nation's capital. They're winners of 4 of their last 6. The Orlando Magic are. Seems like they're getting a nice jolt of confidence heading into the postseason, don't you think?
Hey, listen, RJ, isn't amazing? Here's the inside secret. Okay, here's how you win NBA games. Are you ready? You make shots. I know. It's wild what happens there. And listen, I make jokes, but listen, dropping 18 threes in San Antonio. And then it was weird. In Washington, they actually scored fewer threes than Washington did with 11 versus 12, but went to the foul line more than twice as much. At the end of the day, it's Washington. Paolo Banchero imposes his will in a way that he does. But before we throw that game away, RJ, I think something very important worth mentioning for this team.
Okay.
Think a couple years back, right? Joker and the Nuggets beating the Miami Heat in the finals.
Right.
What was the big deal made about Joker? Sure, he was going to score. Maybe he looked goofy doing it, but he's still a great athlete in the NBA. It's a thing that happens. But the biggest deal was assists, his ability to kick the ball out. In that game, RJ, against the Wizards, 8 assists. The Magic are 6-1 when Paolo Banchero has 7 assists or more. That one, of course, being that abysmal showing of a second consecutive loss at home to the Raptors back in early March that we're trying to forget about, obviously.
Right.
But I think that's the next thing to unlock. And the better thing that'll add to it, RJ, against the San Antonio Spurs, a former Nugget himself, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, dropping 23. If you can get some mix of that to all fall together, this Magic team gets incredibly dangerous combined with their defense.
And I think the final week of this regular season for the Orlando Magic is going to be critical. You're going to have the Atlanta Hawks twice. You're also going to square off against the Celtics as well as the Pacers in that span. Just outside looking in, give us a bit of an insight of how you think Orlando is going to fare this final week of the season.
Yeah, and it's been said throughout, leading out there after the Clippers game the last Monday that they were at home. I know they didn't score 90. That's fine. Give the Clippers some credit, RJ. They play good defense.
Right.
But as you lead up to this stretch of 4 games here that's remaining, 2 home, 2 away, that Pacers game to me is the one. Yeah, I know the Hawks, they're facing them down. If you split with them, you still may be able to host a play-in. If you sweep them, you pretty much guarantee hosting a play-in. Those games are important. But everybody's going to look at that Boston game, too, as well, obviously. I believe that's the final home game for the Orlando Magic. And it depends on whether or not the Celtics are deciding to rest guys or not.
Right.
For me, you beat the Magic back. Maybe you see them again. It's kind of they each kind of hold elements of their own destiny in that game. It's going to be a very fascinating one, and I think it all hinges on whether or not Boston goes full strength. Remember, though, RJ, earlier in the year, it was still in the 2024 portion of the season, the Magic beat the Celtics, but they did not have Tatum on the floor, so that kind of matters.
He's a writer and a podcast, a personality. He is Kyle Nash. He is the student of the game. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at the SOTG. Is there a team for you, because the Magic are going to make the playoffs via the play-in, 1 of 2 teams that they'll play come playoff time, either that of the Boston Celtics, who they play in the final week of the season, or the Cleveland Cavaliers, who they played last year in the playoffs, and that went to 7 games. Is there a team that you feel Orlando will match up with better than the other come postseason time?
Yeah, and it's a matter of which poison is less potent. And for me, it comes down to the health of Kristaps Porzingis for the Celtics, right? If he's in that situation like he was last postseason, or towards the end there, whether or not he played in a game matters, I think that's something that would favor the Magic or any team that's about to face them. The Magic a little extra because Ben Paolo can attack down low. I like his chances of beating an Al Horford over a Kristaps Porzingis for sure.
Right.
And maybe I'm still traumatized, RJ. You mentioned those last year's playoffs with the Cavs. I was at Game 6 watching Donnie Mitch drop 50 while struggling to hit from beyond the arc.
Right.
He was asked after the game, why didn't you shoot more threes? They weren't going down, so I took matters in my own hands. A guy that can decide to score 50 just because he has to, and oh, by the way, Darius Garland, Jared Allen are on the team with him as well, that's an issue. But yeah, at Days In, I would love to watch. Donnie Mitch play in person again. But if I'm a Magic fan, I'm more worried about Cleveland than I am with Boston. At least Boston, there's a chance they might, kind of lull themselves to sleep, not show up, maybe with Porzingis. That being said, the biggest blowouts may come with Boston if all cylinders are running for them. And I'll say this, whoever's playing the Magic is more likely to feel an impact into the next round than they will during that opening round because they're just such a physical team.
How would you describe the Magic season this year?
Whew, unexpected, right? What a ride.
Right.
And I know the word disappointment is used, and I think that's appropriate. When we were having the conversations on or around, October and all of that leading into the season, the thought was that the Magic were going to fight for number 2. The worst they do is the 4th seed in the East. Nobody had on their bingo card that Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, and Paolo Banchero would combine for six games together,
right?
On the floor. That wasn't in the cards. The fact that they thought that the way that they've had, that they may host a playing game, they may be in a position to, at least scare somebody, isn't what was expected. But I think considering all that they dealt with, it's not super bad, but it's certainly disappointing. I get that. If they didn't have that terrible home stretch in late February, early March, we might be having a different conversation about them still making the playoffs, clearing the play-in. I could probably, finagle that into, oh, hey, look, that's a positive. But, if hosting the play-in is the best you got, that's I can see why Magic fans are disappointed.
He is a writer as well as a podcast personality for shows and channels such as the Fans First Sports Network and the 3 Point Conversation. He is Kyle Nash. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at the SOTG. So you were there for Dwight Howard's induction into the Magic Hall of Fame in that ceremony. Now, he's also gotten the nod to go to the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. But what were your thoughts on that news of him being inducted, and then you see him getting inducted into the Magic Hall of Fame? I understand years have passed, years have gone by. His departure from Orlando really left a bad taste in a lot of individuals' mouths. Has Orlando and the fans and the organization, do you feel that this was kind of like, listen, we've put all that in the past. You were a great player while you were here. Welcome into the Hall of Fame where you belong with the Orlando Magic.
Hey, listen, I was one of those pro Stan Van Gundy guys, man. So I was one that had a little bit of the bitter. But the thing that works for me with him getting inducted, first of all, you got Shaq's number in the rafters. How do you not then induct Dwight Howard at that point? You kind of have to at this juncture, But I think for me, what took it home and made me most okay with it was leading up to it on local, he was on a local show in Orlando and basically said, without Stan Van Gundy, there is no Dwight Howard. He's in that place where he didn't like, the way things went. He kind of regrets some elements of how things went. And everyone forgets how young Dwight was in that day. When you're having the conversation where guys like Nick Anderson, essentials in the history of the Magic franchise, are saying that he is the Magic GOAT based on numbers, at that point, kind of by proxy, you have to put him in the Naismith Hall too, right? So I've come to terms with it just like the rest of the Magic fanhood seem to have done as well.
Now, final one before I let you go, because this one kind of broke my heart. I would absolutely have to feel that it broke the heart of other Orlando Magic fans as well. Paul Porter, it was announced that he's going to, announce his final season with the Orlando Magic this year. It's apparently on the 9th. They're going to honor Mr. Porter, but kind of a shock to hear the news. Do you have any insight for us here in Jacksonville as to why the organization is deciding to make the decision that this year is going to be his last?
We're all just confused here in Orlando as you are, man, especially with some of the stuff that's out there on social media that this wasn't his choice and all of that. I mean, before I get into the drama part of it, RJ, let me tell you, as a dude of a particular age that's been around for a minute, okay?
Right.
I don't mean to do with when I was your age, young blood. Now, I'm not trying to do all that necessarily, but when I hear any player's name, from Nick Anderson to Dennis Scott to Scott Skiles to Penny Hardaway to Shaquille O'Neal to Turkoglu, any of the guys that are significant, Rashad Lewis, et cetera, and even the guys now, I hear them in Paul Porter's voice.
Yes.
So God forgive the poor soul that's going to have to try to replace it, because it's going to sound weird to me pretty much for the rest of my life, I assume. Okay?
Absolutely.
But yeah, as for the drama and such that's going on around that, we here in the Orlando media are also perplexed. I know that there are certain elements out there that think we're perplexed about everything and don't ask about offense, but we don't need to fire shots at other nationally in uninformed podcasts out there. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, the Paul Porter thing is shocking. Listen, you were lucky down there in Tampa that you still have him for the Lightning and other entities there. So there you go.
Absolutely. Before we let you go, let the listeners here in Jacksonville know how they're able to get a hold of you and your great work.
First of all, RJ, thanks for letting me take a few shots in the open gym. It's an honor, joy, and privilege. I'm Kyle Nash, student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. That's right. I'm in my 40s and I'm on Blue Sky, RJ. I feel proud of myself. At the SOTG, check out my Facebook as the student of the game. Check out our writings, Fans First Sports Network, as you mentioned, as well as my work with UCF. They're moving on in the Crown Tournament, not the only Florida team still playing basketball, right? Check out that work with the Black and Gold Banneret and also the Night Shift podcast with that group as well, Night Shift on YouTube, and then my work covering Jag stuff with the Duval Dive. So, RJ, thanks again, and until next time, my friend, class dismissed.
There he goes, Kyle Nash.